Yeah, having someone who's from Sikhism representing Sikhs is important.
On 9/11, I drive the Uptown number 4 train, which goes up Lexington Avenue as a general rule to the Bronx. And when I was entering the Fulton Street station, the first building began to fall. And as part of its fall, it disrupted the electrical system that operated the signals, which caused all the signals to go into the emergency mode and stop all the trains in the area. So I was halfway into the station at Fulton Street. I discussed it with one of my local supervisors, and we decided the best thing was to take the train back to Wall Street. So I went back, and because the signal system was an emergency, I can only move the train like 50 feet. So I did that a dozen times or so, got the train into Wall Street, and I evacuated along with my conductor and a fireman, about 800 people.
In one sense, I'm really glad that I helped get all the people off my train and nobody was injured or hurt. And it was a very dangerous time when we were evacuating the train and coming up to the surface from the subway. The second building was falling.
My Sikh identity was challenged in 2005, where after 23 years of working for the Transit Authority, where I was hired I wore a turban when I was hired, they decided that I could no longer work there in my capacity as a train driver, train operator with a turban.
I think that one of the things I first felt was when the Transit Authority went after me was a sense of being alone. And the Sikh Coalition, destroyed that feeling of being alone. I knew that I was not alone. And as the fight went on, more and more people saw what was going on, they came to our aid. I think that's, it shows the power of how the Sikh Coalition was able to, and myself, to get that media coverage that we needed. And it resonated at such a good time, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think that, but without the Sikh Coalition, without Amardeep Singh, and I would not have won the case. I would have just oh my God, I would have to get some regular lawyer who knew nothing about Sikhism and have to explain every aspect and nuance to him. Seeing how well the Sikh Coalition handled my case was an inspiration to other Sikhs that, yeah, they could win too, that they could defend their rights to practice their religion. So we had a whole opening of other cases because of our fight back in just New York.
In 2019, after years of advocacy from civil rights organizations, Senate Bill 4037 was finally passed as law in the New York State Legislature. This bill prohibits employers from discriminating against anyone due to religious garb, articles of faith, and their grooming practices. This bill was inspired in part by Hari's case and the work that the Sikh Coalition has been doing for the past 20 years to ensure that no one has to make the choice between practicing their faith and their career. The Sikh Coalition really has focused on impact victories. And that means that when we're doing any sort of advocacy work, legal work, working on any sort of policy changes, we really want to make sure that that impact is not just for the Sikh community, but it's for all vulnerable communities. So in this case, for the New York Religious Garb Bill, Senate Bill 4037, this impacts any community who maintains religious garb, articles of faith, any sort of grooming practices.
It was important that we maintain control over our sacred space, and not somebody else. And the other thing I wanted to say is that, if it wasn't for the Sikh Coalition, I would not have won my case. It would have just went down as another demoralizing defeat.